All right, we're back on the Chase Thomas podcast where it is. All right, I'm ready. I did this yesterday. I'm ready. Charlie Burris is here. And Charlie, I've got something for you. You're going to love this. You're going to love this right out of the gate.
Okay.
Nico is a Tennessee Volunteer. And it is a beautiful thing, Charlie Burris. I am just so excited. How are you feeling? Like 24 hours, like you found out, I know yesterday live on the air with Zach Reagan, about the Nico pick. We had the VolQuest guys just flying out to Long Beach for the in-person scoop. College football is just, it's a year-round sport now, but also that's okay with me because you know what? Nico is a Tennessee Volunteer, and I don't care what anyone says to me. I don't care how annoying South Carolina fans continue to be, how annoying Kentucky fans continue to be. I am happy, and they cannot take Nico from us. How are you feeling, Charlie?
The state of college football just in general is pretty wild. I think this is it feels like Tennessee might have set a precedent here. And I am right there with you. I could not be more happy because I do think that this is, if things end up being great for Josh Heupel, like he takes that upward trajectory that a lot of guys do after they get absolutely elite recruits. I mean, this is the moment that you're going to look back on. You're going to be like, that was the genesis. That was the beginning. So that's incredible. I still said this before we got on here. I don't know if I'm more happy or if I'm just totally shell-shocked, because when does this stuff happen?
Yeah.
For Tennessee. This is not what happens for UT, 20 years since the last time we got a 5-star quarterback in the fold. Obviously, you still got to lock him down, although how does
that work, though? If you signed an NIL deal, which he may or may not have signed, how does that work if you get out? I don't know how that would work. That would get ugly fast.
So this is what I mean, and sort of like, did Tennessee set like almost a national precedent here? We're serving as like the Supreme Court of college football, sort of, as far as NIL deals go.
Yeah,
because let's say that all of this, the speculation is that he was on the receiving end of this $8 million NIL deal that The Athletic reported on, and some of the terms that I haven't read, like I didn't go back and read it in the last couple of days since this was announced, but the terms were kind of like they really locked you in. If I'm thinking back to what I read in that, so I don't know. I mean, if that did happen, I hope he has a good lawyer or agent or something.
Well, let's hope it doesn't even come to that. Let's just hope it doesn't come to any of that. Like, let's just hope that that's not what happens. Yeah.
And so it's, I saw some people yesterday tweeting about, it was some like sports entertainment lawyers or something that they were tweeting about, like, is any player actually worth $8 million? And how are you a sports entertainment lawyer and you look at this NIL stuff and ask that question? Not, I assumed that they actually do their research, but are you kidding? This is SEC football. This kid could come here, and if he is great, he'll be worth far more than $8 million.
Right.
And it's great for everybody, but it is a giant risk. I mean, there's on all sides. Who knows?
How many Calhouns did he buy in this deal? How many Calhouns does he now own?
He is the sole owner of Calhouns now, because I believe, wasn't the guy that owns Calhouns, he's like an Alabama fan, I think.
Oh, is he really?
Don't quote me on that, but I do actually.
Paul Feinbaum owns Calhouns?
Do what?
Does Paul Feinbaum own Calhouns?
Yes.
Okay.
That is the case. Yeah, Paul, radio, and then he's a restaurateur. No, I don't know like what the deal is there. The way that I've characterized it on our show is that, let's be realistic, it's a money laundering scheme, right? Like that's what it is. Because you have to caveat this. If this happened, let me put the asterisk on it. If this happened, whatever it was, I mean, it is essentially Tennessee working with these sponsors, working with these donors, whoever it may be, to provide this money. And it's just, it's Tennessee coordinating and setting up payments, but just doing it in this roundabout way. And I see a lot of people saying that it's going to ruin college football. Or is it
This stuff
really?
was happening above, like under board, like before all of
Yeah,
this. Like that's the whole thing. Is like
it's nothing
nothing.
new.
Like yeah, this is nothing new.
And so I'm not in that camp. It's going to change college football. I don't think there's any
Yeah,
doubt about that. It just sends you quicker
right.
towards basically getting rid of the NCAA, which I could not be more for. I'm
Yeah,
100% for. The NCAA is stupid and useless and needs to be rid of. Um, but I think it gets you there quicker. The NCAA absolutely knows that because they're fighting against it. I mean, they know what this
hmm
all means, and I'm I'm optimistic about where all of this goes, even if people are cynical, however they might feel about it. I hope that Tennessee is on the cutting edge of all that. That would be so incredible. I want to know the details if that is really the case, and really I'm a dork about it. I mean, I have a business degree from Tennessee. I want to dive into those numbers to see what it really is, because it's a fascinating time. I mean,
yeah.
this is the Wild West. This is the new frontier. This is the way the college football is going, and the way that's going to be for a really long
You
time.
adapt or you die, and
Yeah,
Tennessee's adapting, which we have
exactly,
to love. Like we're adapting ahead of the curve. We're actually
exactly.
adapting quickly, which is awesome. And people who are upset about it, guess what? You could have adapted too, and like nothing was stopping you from doing any of that. And this
Yeah.
is a. I was telling the Sports Renaissance one about this last night, where I was like, the cool thing about NIL for a school like Tennessee is that because our enrollment is so high, and because our donor pool is so high, and because like this Auburn will figure this out eventually when they figure out their coaching stuff and they get all this in order. I guess if they ever do get it in order, but like when you have this big of a pull for like Tennessee was always built to pull something like this off early, like
Oh yeah.
because of how big we are, because of how much money we have, because of the boosters. Like people like to make jokes about UT and the boosters and who's running University of Tennessee, and like that question always circling the program and stuff like that. But it's like, you know who's running it right now? Danny White just being like, all right, who's got the money? Let's go see what, like, I will give me the money and we'll figure it out. Like that Danny White cannot be discounted here, and just how much of a slam dunk AD hire that was from UCF, because the man knows how to raise money. And the man, I just, you won't convince me that this is not part of Danny White's vision and just him being ahead of the curve.
His reputation as a fundraiser, and obviously
Yeah.
I think that's bearing itself out now.
UCF's number 2 in enrollment in the country. Number 2.
Yeah.
He's had to deal with this before.
I mean, he has been one, just like a leading guy in that segment. And admittedly, I've been cynical on the whole we got to have an AD who's a fundraiser in the past. To me, in the past, that's just been annoying, because it's, how about we get an AD who knows something about sports and can actually, make these guys better.
Yeah.
But I think in this NIL
hmm
situation, where it is so much just like contracts and numbers and aligning donors and aligning sponsors and doing all of these things, I think you hired the right guy at the right time
Yeah.
potentially. Like, you just ended up, I don't want to say you lucked into it, but I would say that NIL stuff wasn't in place when you hired the guy. And I think we knew it was coming.
I mean, we kind of lucked into Danny White because of where we were. Like, it's so
Yeah.
easy for folks to forget about where Tennessee was. Like, the McDonald's bag era was not that long ago. Like,
A
how
year ago.
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Like, that, like, how far we've come so quick. And I remember telling all my uncles and so many family members who went to UT too that, like, White's going to come in. He's going to make money. Like this dude is going to come in and make money. Like this is going to be the antithesis of what was going on with Fulmer, where it was like SEC guy, we got to hire. Like it's just within the family, defense, defense, defense. Like no, this is all flash. This is all gas, no brakes, and we're just going to see what money can buy. And right now, we might have seen money can buy a lot in Knoxville potentially.
This is all I ever wanted.
Yeah.
I've been, again, as I said, just really cynical on this front. I've been the type of guy that goes, be Kirby Smart.
Yeah.
Go out and be completely shameless. I do
hmm
not care. This is SEC football. If
Yeah.
you're not ready to swim in the snake pit, get out. I mean, that's how this works. And so to see, I love the reactions of people that are like, if he made $8 million, then blah blah blah, and I go, yeah, he made $8 million.
It's
That's
also not your
amazing.
money. Why do you care? Why do you care?
Exactly. I don't, and I said this about people have been trying to really break down where all the money
Yeah.
comes from or whatever it might be with the Spire Sports folks and everything
Yeah.
like that. I don't care. I don't care where it comes from. Do we have it, and can we get it in the hands of these kids and get them to Knoxville, Tennessee?
Right.
I would be fascinated to know the strategy, but a lot of the time, if I imagine that this isn't really going to change. A lot of the time in college sports, you don't want to know how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
That's just
well. If you have this, you don't want to know how the sausage is made if you have this this really beautiful image of what college sports is. And if you're at that point in 2022, I don't know what to tell you. Like if you're like, if you're clutching your pearls at learning anything about college sports in the year of 2022, like I don't know what to tell you, but you've been living under a rock forever. Like that should not be a thing.
Yeah, I'm not gonna act like I'm like deep in with like VolQuest and everybody that has, I'm not an insider as far as that goes. I'm not making those phone calls all day long. And
I don't want to do that. People. I feel like you don't want to do that either. Like that's just not something.
It's not of interest to me.
But shout out to Austin Price and all those folks who do it because that's a great thing.
Unbelievably hardworking. They do incredible work and provide incredible information that I'm happy to read and not be a part of producing.
Yeah, I want to read. I don't want to send the text.
Exactly. And so from that, again, I don't necessarily care how it happened with anybody that's freaking out about the potential of, he might just be coming to Tennessee for the money or something like that. Is he coming to Tennessee? That's it. Because
were Auburn fans concerned why Cam Newton came to Auburn? Like, what was did he not fall in love with the Plains? Is he not a deep down Plains guy? Like, what? Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Are we going to act like this was always one of my favorite talking points when Hugh Freeze was at Ole Miss, and he was getting dudes who were from downtown Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, you think that he's getting guys to move from Chicago to Oxford, Mississippi, because we love how it feels like you're walking underwater in the middle of the summer here. What are you talking about?
They just fell in love with the Grove. They were like, what a setting.
Yeah, no. He paid these boys. We all know that he paid these boys. And
I think it's because like a lot of students and like alums, I'll have those conversations too, where it's like your college experience is nothing like an athlete's. Like it's not, your intentions are different. Like everything is different. You have no way of having their perspective on anything. So why, like, trying to think like an athlete is silly. Like you're wasting your time. Why you love the University of Tennessee is going to be different than why someone else goes there. That doesn't, like, why does that A, matter, but B, it's never going to be the same. They're never going to be like, it's not a Peyton Manning situation, generally speaking. That's not even a T. Martin, who really did love the university, but it's like, most of those guys are not coming here for that reason. And that's okay. That's not a bad thing.
I do think something that Tennessee has going for it a little bit and could have played in with Nico.
Yeah.
Is that these kids know they can come to Tennessee and be the star here. Where you send him to Alabama, he's gonna potentially never play. I mean, 5-star kids have gone to Alabama and they don't ever see the field.
Yeah. Shout out to Blake Barnett.
Yeah. I mean, they have a roster that's that good. It's kind of the same with Georgia. Now, Georgia, for some reason, Kirby can't seem to find a quarterback. I think Nico would play at Georgia, but but you just kind of think like he might fade into the background there. But at Tennessee, I mean, he came to campus for a visit, and the entirety of Thompson Bowling Arena chanted his name.
Yeah.
He said it ended up actually being in his announcement video. He made it all a part of it.
His mom was crying listening to it. Like, that stuff does matter for sure.
Absolutely. And when you get a kid who's hungry for that experience, again, does it matter that he's coming to be loved by the fans instead of loving Knoxville or loving the university? Not to me.
Yeah, I don't care if he's not a big Littens guy. Doesn't really affect him.
But I mean,
yeah,
exactly. Like, seriously, you have to just come to grips at this point. In this conversation, I always feel like I'm being condescending, and I genuinely don't mean it. But truly, you just got to come to grips with what college football is. It's pro football. College football is pro football. It's semi-pro football. It's a feeder league to the NFL, but college football is effectively the G League. And I mean, college basketball is also kind of the G League too,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Well, see, I would push back a little bit where I would say it's the Power 5 or maybe a couple
That's
conferences
true.
are
That's
pro
true.
football. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think the Pac-12's caught up yet. Like, I think they said, like, who
Hmm.
knows what the Big 12 will be, but like the Group of 5 and the Power 5 are playing two different leagues. Like, they're
Yep.
just playing two different, like the rosters are different, like the majority of those kids are at Group of 5 schools is completely different. How they get there, things like that. I think it just depends on who you're talking about. But I do think like the SEC is pro football. Like the
Yeah.
ACC and Big Ten are pro football. But yeah, I
I mean,
agree with the general
I
sentiment.
I think you're gonna start to see with these NIL deals a real emergence of almost a feeder league system, like you see in baseball, where it's I
Hmm.
don't even totally understand it, double A, triple A, whatever
Hmm.
levels there are. You'll get kids who don't get discovered coming out of high school, and they go to Tulane,
Yeah.
and then they're really good at Tulane, and it's not even a question
Yeah.
when they're a sophomore, they're transferring out of there and they're going to Georgia. They're transferring out of there, they're going to Tennessee. And with the transfer portal combined with the NIL, because especially with the NIL here, I think the folks giving out the money for NIL deals are going to be looking for something that they're going to be looking for something that gets them a return on their investment.
Yeah.
And what's a more sure thing than I've seen this kid play at the college level at a school like Tulane. I've seen that they're incredible. They're going to come here and they're going to make noise. And
Hmm.
that's the perfect setup for an NIL deal. We were saying it on this last show talking about Kennedy Chandler.
Hmm.
If you could scrounge up the money somehow, what's a rookie contract, $2 million or whatever it
Hmm.
would be to make him kind of think about coming back. Who better? That kid is going to be the bona fide star of the Tennessee basketball team next year, and whoever gets the privilege of being in on that NIL deal will get a return on their investment because he will have such a huge profile here. And so I think you're going to see, yeah, like a sort of triple A, double A system emerge where these kids go to these smaller schools, get discovered, hop up to the big leagues with the transfer portal, and then they make money there, and then they make even more money when they go pro. And I I get why people don't like the change and the shift, but what's the other option? These kids who produce billions and billions and billions of dollars for these universities and the NCAA just never get a cut. That's not
Yeah.
right. And so
It's a difference between like what you grew up around. It's like the sport, like you couldn't watch every college football game for a lot of people who are complaining about it. Like you were limited to who was in your region. Like
mhm,
people who grew up in Knoxville 40 years ago were only watching Tennessee games and then like the Rose Bowl and like the big ones. They weren't able to watch that. You weren't able to just I mean, there was no Twitter, there was no social media, there was no Instagram for what, like, there was no like, it's just, it's a different time. And to pretend otherwise is just, you're going to get left behind. It is what it is. Like,
yeah.
it's flowing this way to bring it back to what we were saying. It's like, this is where it's going. So if you want to be successful and you want to win football games, which is still like, guess what? I'm not going to be thinking about how different college football is when Nealon's rocking and we're up 35-14 on Florida. Like that's not going to change my experience like whatsoever. Like I'm not going to be thinking, oh man, I don't know. I can't shake this NIL aspect of college football and what it's done to my sport. That thought's not going to go to my head. My thought is going to be yelling at the Florida fan like 3 seats over to me. Like that's where my head's going to be at. Like that just I don't think I think people overthink it a little bit where it's like, you don't have any control. Like that, you have no say, no control. Like worry about things that you can actually control. That will save you a lot. This is just like general life advice. Worry about the things that you can actually control and you'll be a lot happier. And don't give a shit about the stuff that you can't. So this is one of those things and you can't. So just enjoy the ride. Tennessee's got Nico. Like I can't wait. I will say on the flip side of this, because this is the University of Tennessee and you and I have seen this story before, there's going to be a disaster where it goes the other way. Like we're going to
Yeah.
see we're going to have an NIL embarrassing disaster. I don't know who it's going to be. I hope it's not Nico, but that's going to happen. And Twitter is going to love it. Wolken has already got the tweet lined up ready for it. Maybe Pat 40. I mean, just they're ready because we're going to get some egg on our face at some point because Tennessee's throwing money. And again, I guess this is all alleged because until it's official that Nico was the $8 million kid, we can't say for certain. We don't know. But once that comes out, or once it comes out that Tennessee's throwing this serious amount of money and it backfires at one point, they're going to they're going to do it.
Yeah. I I think Tennessee already has an incredible set of lawyers who work for them. This is only gonna what a great day for lawyers in Knoxville, Tennessee. But yeah, that's absolutely gonna happen, and it's just gonna be college football feeling its way through the changes in the market. I really actually like On3 has been on the absolute cutting edge of this, where they're really trying hard to put a number on kids for NIL.
Yeah.
They actually did it with Nico. They wrote an article about it that I was looking at today. The number that they had pegged it for was like $340,000 or something, and it was based on currently sort of his exposure. How many social media followers does he have? What kind of profile does he have being the quarterback at the University of Tennessee with the fan base that this school has? And they projected out like $340,000, obviously on a different plane than the 8 million that people are talking about. And again, and I hope people understand, like, if you didn't read the article that's around that, it's not like they're just gonna hand him a check for $8 million.
Right.
It's a yearly thing. It's set in a way to make him stay at Tennessee, which is an aspect of that I really
that we want for Kennedy Chandler and basketball guys for the one and done stuff.
Please. Yes, please let it. I don't remember if I said this on air or I was just saying it to somebody else, so I apologize if I'm repeating myself to anybody that's listening to other stuff I do. But I really hope that it, specifically with college basketball, you saw the product is hurt by the fact that kids can just leave early, and you get a kid who's really raw but really good for one. Jabari Smith's like a great example. Kennedy Chandler's a great example. Jabari Smith being like the top example in college basketball this season. He's raw, he's young, and if that kid stayed for another 2 years at Auburn, it's just going to be an NBA player playing at the college level. And what does that do for the level of college basketball and the quality of the game that's being played at the college level? I mean, that would just be incredible. If Kennedy Chandler comes back, make no mistake about it, Tennessee will be a top 5 team preseason next year, if not number 1. I mean, you will be right there, and I so badly want to see that happen because the potential is there. It's like pay these kids in a way that's comparable to what they would get at the pros. Just
right, like Keon's not having fun. Keon's already on team number 2.
Yeah, man.
This is year 1. He's already on team number 2.
It's so easy. Obviously, college basketball and college football are different from each other in a number of ways. But with college basketball, kids are so eager to jump where they go like, what? They want that I'm going to get a draft pick like Keon did. Yeah, he was a first-round draft pick.
Yep.
He goes, and I don't want to say he's flamed out. He's got a long road ahead of him.
But I mean, he's in a tough spot now in Portland, and suddenly, like, it can change on a dime, man. Like, it's just you get drafted to the wrong situation. You're not ready. You bounce around a little bit, and then it's over. Like, Keon could be done. He could be playing overseas in 2 years. Like, and that kid had all the talent in the world. And yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Where it's like, if we had a way to just appetize him to stay for another year, like what he could have done, especially this year, like the closing lineups. Like I talked about it a lot, where I was like, Keon was the one I missed. Like Springer would not have affected much, but like Keon with Chandler for this year would have been a lot.
You would have had the best backcourt in college basketball.
Yeah,
in my opinion, you were close to it this year with Vescovy and everybody, Triple J and all those guys.
Ziegler out of nowhere, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Ziegler, really being
who was going to be at Tennessee for like 37 years. I'm excited for his tenure here.
And what an unbelievable blessing that's going to be, because he's a little too short for the pros, if we're being totally honest.
Like he's not going. Yeah, like he's going to be here for a while. Like he's a Tennessee lifer.
Yeah, man, that's but it's an exciting time to me. I know a lot of people are scared of exactly where all of this is heading. I think you're not going to lose the pageantry. You're not going to lose the excitement. You're not going to lose the intrigue of college sports. All that's still going to be there. It's just going to look a little different, and that's okay.
It's also not going to affect you. It's going to be different for the athletes. It's not going to be different for you. It's going to be different from what it was with Peyton and T to what it is with Nico and Taven Jackson and guys like that. It's just different.
Yeah, and different in the way that it always needed to be different.
Right.
Different in the way that a kid like T. Martin can come to Tennessee and finally win a national championship here. And T. Martin should have been selling his jersey in the
Yes.
Vol bookstore for all of those years, and everybody would have been buying it. But instead, he won a national championship at Tennessee, and what did he
Could
get
you
out of
imagine
that
how much
monetarily?
Kamara would have made? Like
Oh
Kamara.
man, I mean, and of course now, thankfully, retroactively, he's still super relevant and has like the landscape is even different from when this happened with T, because after the fact, Kamara was able to get like his name in
Yeah.
on products at UT. But yeah, you just the amount of I was at the Vol shop earlier today. I was picking up the SEC championship T-shirt I ordered.
Nice.
And I was there earlier today, and they have an entire section of NIL athlete apparel.
Yeah.
And it's so awesome. You think like all of those kids across the board, some of these guys that play like baseball.
Yeah. Shout out to Drew Gilbert hitting 500 through a month and a half in the season. Shout out to my guy.
Unthinkable before this era. And now that kid is getting to make money doing what he loves for the University of Tennessee. That's incredible.
Especially baseball players who, if people don't know, there's a really good documentary by friend of the pod, Matt Wyatt, out in Mississippi, who covers Mississippi State, former quarterback. He did a good documentary called Uneven on college baseball. Like, just dive into that and just like how scholarship rules work in college baseball and like how rough it is for a lot of college baseball players. So yeah, like that, it's not the same. So that's a huge win for me, where it's like football players, especially basketball, like the high end basketball guys are okay, but in terms of baseball guys like Jordan Beck and dudes like that getting paid is a good thing. Speaking of Tennessee baseball, leading the D1 baseball in dingers, and it's not even close. I think we're up like 13, and having been at a lot of these games, it's wild. Like we had I think on Sunday afternoon when I was there most recently, we had like back to back with, I think it was Stewart and then Evan Russell back to back. But it's just, I'm taking it for granted now, where it's just like the dingers are just happening. Like I'm ready. I'm like, it's been like 4 innings and no one's hit a home run. What's happening here? What's happening? And it's a delight. Tennessee baseball, an absolute delight.
I need people to realize, if I could preach anything that's happening right now, I definitely preach this with basketball near the end of the season. But right now with baseball, the exact same applies. Cherish this.
Yes.
Cherish this. There is something special brewing with Tennessee baseball right now.
There's something brewing special with everything. We can end here.
That's
like
true.
I always say, like, I'll quote tweet when I see something else positive. I'm like, we're in everything school right now. Like, take it, like, we're good at everything. And that's Georgia fans, like, will get in my mentions about blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you're not in everything school. Like, it's cool that you're running football, but you're not. And it's like, oh, well, what if you want to blah, blah, blah. Like, just look across the board. I don't care. We'll put our rowing team up against anybody. You can come to Oak Ridge. We'll outrow you. What's up?
Yeah. But like to that point, I was at the SEC tournament. Just was lucky enough. Me and friends go every year, and it just so happened we put in our time, and finally Tennessee paid it off for us. But there were 1,000 Texas A&M fans. Maybe that might be generous. Texas A&M fans there. They do not care about basketball. They don't. And they made it to the SEC championship game.
Well, to be fair, they probably didn't think that it was worth it to fly from College Station to Tampa for the SEC tournament based on the kind of season they've had.
But to that point, they don't. So I should give that full context. My sister went to Texas A&M, and I know, and a whole side of my family did also. They don't care about basketball ever. They never, and it's crazy because like they had Caruso. And a number of Chris Middleton, who's like really good in the NBA now, and just in recent years, and they just don't really care. And Buzz is a really good coach, and it just is their football school. It's kind of just the nature of the place, and Tennessee, the fans and the way that they care, and Tennessee deserves to have things in every sport be good, because we'll show up for any of them. Just give us a winner. We'll sell out the baseball stadium. Literally, whatever it may be, swimming. Just give us something, and we're going to be excited about it. And so
I mean, it's like the Knicks. Like I tell people that Tennessee is like the Knicks. Like the fan base reminds me a lot of the Knicks fan base, where it's like they're going to show up. they're going to be like all over Twitter. They're going to be after their coach. They're going to have unrealistic expectations at all times, but they're going to be passionate. They're going to put money into the program. They're going to buy whatever you ask them to buy. They're going to step up and drop $300K to help out Sakai Ziegler's family at the drop of a hat. Like they're going to back, like they're going to put their money where their mouth is, and they're going to put their support where their mouth is. So like that is something that just 50 years from now, the support will be the same in Knoxville. The support for the University of Tennessee will be the exact same. Like it's not going anywhere. And that's like, I think probably been the most frustrating part about Tennessee at times. It's like the support's there. The money's there. There's just, this is a great place to play. And if you're an athlete like Nico, it's different. Like I imagine when he was at the Vanderbilt game and just seeing 102,000. Like now I wish I was looking for him because I was like one row up in the end zone, like right there. And I'm like, I wish I had been paying closer attention to where Nico was, but it's just different. It's a Coliseum. Like Neyland's the best SEC stadium by far. And it's because it's like a Coliseum. It's like you're walking into a Rome Coliseum just with the way it's like how big it is, how loud it is, and how old it is. Like it's a different thing.
It's why I've gotten so, I mean, angry is really the right word, frustrated in the past, because I certainly feel like it's not the same right now. Thankfully, they are course correcting, and I appreciate it. But in the past, Tennessee's administration has just totally taken advantage of this fan base, and the loyalty that they bring, because they essentially knew that they could roll a crap product out there, and Tennessee fans are going to show up.
Yeah,
that's what we do. It doesn't matter what you put out there, because we're just loyal to a fault, essentially. And I, through all those rough times, I always went like, do not do that. Like, don't look a Tennessee fan in the face and give us crap and say that, isn't this great? Look, we're going to raise ticket prices. We're going to do, all the stuff that they were doing. Why aren't you buying our merch? Well, you stink. That's why. And that always made me really mad. And to see them finally, like, putting effort behind, a lot of people give them a hard time, but the way that Danny only tweets about like ancillary sports, I get it. He wants to emphasize that Tennessee is about more than just football and basketball. We're always going to show up for that. But with everything else doing well, just the rising tide raises all ships, or whatever the saying is, and it's not disrespectful to Tennessee fans, which is what I appreciate.
I mean, just look at baseball. Spring's awesome. Like now that baseball is here, like having that just right there, and just those games are so much fun. So Knoxville folks, if you've not just gone since Vitello's, just go. It's so much fun. Like being there for the walk-off, like with Gilbert, like just, I'm telling you, man, just go. And it's goosebumps all the time. And just, it's not going to be like this forever. It's not going to be like this forever.
I mean, I'll say this, in the last 5 years, I would say, the two best Tennessee sporting events I've been to were the SEC championship a week ago. And the walk-off homer that Max Ferguson hit against Arkansas last year. It was, the place obviously was packed up to the rafters, and you win on a walk-off homer, and it was so awesome. Like that's some of the most fun that you can have with Tennessee sports right now. Like, just, again, don't take advantage of it. Do take advantage of it. Don't take it for granted. That's what I meant to say. Don't take it for granted. Go and enjoy it, because it is. Man, it's totally awesome.
I think the South Carolina game with the family here was probably my favorite football from this year. Just because just the sad South Carolina fans, just another one. Like it was just the beatdown, and just seeing Shane Beamer look helpless on the sidelines was a lot. And there were South Carolina fans before the game like, oh, I don't know, it should be a back and forth game. I'm like, this game's over in the first quarter. Like, we're stomping on your necks in the first quarter. There's nothing like the hype machine in quarter number 1. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. Charlie Burris, how do the good folks check out your work at A to Z Sports and everything else?
Yeah, so A2ZSports.com. I write stuff over there along with my podcast co-host Zach Reagan. He's all over that website. That dude, he writes so much stuff. It's crazy, actually. But then the Big Orange podcast, just type that in. We're all good podcasts are sold, or just on YouTube, or just type in A to Z Sports on YouTube. Been trying to sell to YouTube lately. It seems like you're going to video too here, so
Yeah.
that it's a great thing to do. We post the podcast and clips from the podcast on the A to Z Sports YouTube page. Otherwise, at Charlie_Burris. But I'm a psycho on Twitter. You don't want any of that. Just don't.
I like it. You do stuff I won't do because people don't want me tweeting through Tennessee games. Like people, like I would get fired if I was tweeting through the game on Saturday night. Like it's good that I was not tweeting.
I said yesterday, AJ Brown, the wide receiver for the Titans, he popped off and said some stuff after Matt Ryan got picked up by the Colts. And then he deleted the tweets that he had put up, and then he tweeted, "I gotta stop tweeting everything that I'm thinking. I don't mean any harm." And I was like, I could not relate to this more. I gotta stop tweeting everything that I'm thinking. I swear. I don't mean anything by it. But so if you want to follow there, it is there. But otherwise, I appreciate you having me on, man. This was a blast. This is a good time.
Yeah, we'll be doing these with more. I mean, hey, we'll come back in a couple weeks with Carnell Tate. Like maybe he gets
exactly.
This is how it starts, man. This is how it starts. And hopefully, folks, if you're looking to kill an hour and a half, go to Nico's Instagram story because he's got 9,000 clips up. So if you look at it, it goes forever and forever. And I was like, I was not watching all that. And I wanted to watch some of it because I feel like he might have done it because I shared it out. And I'm like, I feel like I'm in here. Let me see if I'm in here. I'm like, I'm not doing this. Not doing it. But shout out to Nico who made the best decision because of his love, an endearing love for the color orange. And wanting to be the best Vol that he can be. So shout out to Nico. Shout out to Carnell Tate, avid listener of the podcast. Looking forward to seeing what you're up to in the next couple of weeks. Fingers crossed. Charlie, thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.